Hello and welcome to Low-Code Campfire number 30, December 10th. We're going to talk today some about predefined fields and whatever else that you want to talk about. Just to put on the front of our recordings is an event we do every week. It's a community gathering. We get together to show techniques, challenges, experiences, and just generally talk about low code and plant an app. It's open to all skill levels. They're recorded and we put bookmarks in the recording. Make sure to subscribe to Plant an App and to set your alerts so that you get notified when we get a new episode. We have a pretty simple agenda. It's mostly just a conversation, but we will talk about any contributions and specific things going on. Try not to have noise going on in the background while you're participating. And you can submit questions and topics in advance. And so there's the link to do that. It's also on all the emails that we send to you. So, hello, good morning, welcome.
Hello, Dale. Good morning.
Morning, Dale. Morning, Mark. Morning, Jerry.
Hey, guys.
Great. We are not having a Christmas Eve or a New Year's Eve version of this, so that's the first mention I'll put. But we will be, let's see, there's still another Friday before then, so we'll be getting together next week. Yep, that'll be the last one for the year next week. So first call, what's on your mind? What's going on in your world? Anything we can help with?
Yeah, I came to the last Plant an App meeting on Wednesday, 10 minutes late. And so I missed your intro. So if I'm tripping over that, I apologize. But I was concerned to hear about what I understand to be the removal of the forms capability within side of Action Grid. And because I was looking at leaning on that pretty heavily. So I'd like you to be able to hopefully speak to that. And is there anything coming in its place and so on? So how's that for an opener, Dale?
Oh, that's a good one. Although, and I might, we might use a special guest star today. I see Linda is with us. Bogdan is not yet on board. I can tell you a little bit about it. I didn't know in advance that he was going to mention that and the direction where that was going and retiring some things. But he mentioned architecture, and I'll just say from my understanding of what's going on, when they introduced forms inside of grids long ago, it ended up being a copy. It can't just directly be a reuse of the code that we had for Action Form. So it really was a second product inside of Action Grid, and then it becomes its own maintenance problem. The part where we now have the ability to do pop-ups to forms from grids and other techniques like that to access the information, I think spurred on the idea that, hey, we don't need to be double maintaining this product and trying to make it work inside of Grid. So I think that's the reasoning.
Yeah, to be honest, Dale, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I think you pretty much captured it in a nutshell. It was some outdated technology. It wasn't maintained well, and it's quite buggy. So with the form in pop-up or the inline, now either of those should be able to do what that did and much better. So I don't know if you've had a chance to explore those options, like especially the form in pop-up.
I have not yet used the form in pop-up, but you mentioned inline, and that's maybe I'm like I said, I came a little bit late, so I might have not picked up everything. But when you say the form inline, I think that's what I was using, but that's not what's going away. I'm confused here?
So there are Go ahead,
Oh,
Lynn.
go ahead, Dale. Oh, no, I was just going to say what I was referring to is more of the inline edit for simple forms, for
Okay.
simple changes. And then the form and pop-up option is available for more heavy duty items.
But not the form essentially as part of the grid display is disappearing.
Right. I think
What's,
the issue is this add form.
yes, that's what's being removed.
Right. Okay.
Inline editing is still being supported.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting.
And I think, did he mention a version, was it 120 that we were going to retire that?
Yes, it's being retired in 120.
So that's
So
kind
approximately 2 to 3 months.
of a little bit of warning there. But you know, along the way, if you want to bounce around some ideas about how to do pop-up forms, I think we have some good examples of that. But
Yeah, no, I'm okay with doing pop-up forms. Thank you, by the way. My application I had in mind for that was to essentially use it as a mechanism to gather feedback on specific items using the rating capability.
mm-hmm.
So, and that was seemed to be, I just did some preliminary testing on it, and it seemed to be a valuable way of going about that. Not to say that's the only way, but that seemed to be something that could be very useful. So I'd be open to any substitutes, concepts, and so on for grids. I'm sorry. You threw the mic open, Dale.
No, that's
No, that's what we're here for.
this is the risk we take every week. We just dancing without a net, but that's fine. And if you see me dance, you know how dangerous that is.
We've heard him sing.
No, that actually hasn't happened. It's an ongoing.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of threats.
There's been threats for singing.
Home
So
on the
when
range.
was that announcement made that the forums were being dropped? Was that on Wednesday or was that last week?
It was made obsolete. It's going to be marked as obsolete in this 18 release. And he brought it up in the Low-Code Cafe on Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah. You miss one day, you miss a lot.
That's what happens.
Can't miss a thing.
Didn't he also say though there was a future re-implementation of the feature?
There's some consideration for it down the line, but I don't think there's anything planned. What he announced was it is being retired without an immediate replacement.
You know, along those lines, I have been trying to figure out and really have not perfectly figured it out yet, how to embed a form into a grid row. Specifically, I'd prefer to see multiple forms in different rows in the grid. So if anyone has any ideas on that, yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. It's related to what you're talking about.
Yeah, so can't in a inline detail, can't you insert a form? What am I saying here? If we take a look at an embedded form, can't you do that?
Yes, but I remember trying that for a while. The embedded forms they weren't working, and there was a limitation that some browsers have, the others don't. Something about same site versus other site permissions.
Yep,
I couldn't get across the finish line.
Okay. Good. All right.
Yeah, that's right. That's probably a topic for another day.
Isn't that the identical topic, forms inside a grid?
Forms on a grid, maybe, but in my mind, not, because I need the forms to be dynamic forms, so that I can choose which form and what contents are going to go in each form dynamically, depending on some like query string parameters. So it's very dynamic. What I'm working on is very dynamic, based on client and query string. But I don't know that I could have even used the thing that's being removed now to do what I'm needing to do. But it's not a hot topic for me. It's something that I need for some time in the future. So I'm not concerned about it at the moment, really.
Yep.
I've put effort into it and I'll come back to it.
Well, I put it down as a thing to do a little bit of research on what we can get done and kind of demoing the techniques of what's available. So I'll circle back on that one as well.
Thank you. That was Matt's fault. He got me thinking about it.
Okay. What else? What else is going on? I like your stuff more than my stuff.
I have a question. Sorry. I have a question about how do you copy entities? Is that something which is available or somebody uses that?
The answer is not yet. As far as I know, there is no way to import, like to export an entity and import it under another name.
Okay, that's I understand that. So it's coming, you say?
I think indirectly it is, in that I've heard it talked about on the roadmap before, where our entities can work with tables that are not plant and app origin. So at the very least, if that were the case, you could make a copy of the table and then get it to read and acknowledge it. But there may well be, almost certainly will be, the ability to copy export and import entities as part of the direction that we're going, where you can store things in Git and restore them. So I think the ability would have to be there in order to, for example, to take a copy of an application, to spin up a copy. So more a question for the product team. I'd be happy to find out more about that. What I'm saying is I'd be surprised if it's not on the roadmap, but it's not something that happens now.
Yeah, that's what I would think, because it's a very obvious feature that you want to import an entity from your development environment into your production environment. And now you have to sort of recreate the entity in the production.
Absolutely. And the experience that we're trying to better support is having multiple environments. So that would be, a piece of that puzzle. And I see Bogdan has joined us. So if he wants to speak about that along the way, be happy to have his input. Being able to copy an entity, but regardless, I've taken it down as a topic to get more information on.
Yes, it's coming, but I think we are a few iterations away from having this kind of environment deployment built in.
Right. So I did a promo about we're going to be talking about predefined fields. I mentioned it in Campfire, and I hadn't done a whole lot of preparation for it, so I'm just getting logged on now. I like to have that. That's what I'm doing here in the background, so we can talk about that at some point. let's see, there was another one. I think somebody else had a first call kind of a thing that we wanted. Just a little collision there.
I had a more of a last call question for this group, which was, I need a couple of suggestions on a if at the end, maybe if there's any time left.
Okay.
I need a simple way to make an API call from a to create. What's the simplest way to create a non-Plantain app that can do an API call?
Okay. Well, so, you know, I'm more inclined to just take it as it comes here. Within, I think the answer is JavaScript, so I'm going to struggle a little bit, and then Bogdan is going to come on and tell me exactly how to do it. But
for clarity, I need what I need is where I can make an API call to this black box that gets me a user ID from the network and brings it back. And right now we're having issues with this is back to my Active Directory project. We're having issues getting it reliably in Plantain app.
Uh-huh.
If I could just make an API call somewhere to an app or to something simple while the Plantain app feature is being worked, then I could just get the data I need from and bring it back to Plantain app, and everything else will work.
Yep. So within the APIs, when you build an API, you get this syntax that will work with jQuery. You can copy and paste that in, and it's going to return whatever the data of the API is. So if you can use jQuery, it's like pre-built for you. Can you use jQuery?
Well, I don't know what I was looking for, how to house the app. Like I could go into Visual Studio and build something that and have it generate be listening at an API address someplace, and then call it from Plantain app. But I guess so I could put jQuery in there, I guess, but I'd have to look at it. I was hoping if there was something like a Razor script. Maybe can you execute Razor script directly?
And let me make sure I understand. You've got you want to have an API on your Plantain app system, correct? That gets called.
Negative, and I want the Plantain app system is making the API call. And I just need to write something very simple to grab a chunk of data that's out there in our network environment and return it to me.
Yeah.
The development team is working on it to make it happen in Plantain app, but it's down the road.
Is it does it have any special security requirements?
Yeah. Yes. Well, no. All it's going to get is I have the C# code that goes out to grab the network user ID and bring it back, and so you can make an API. I just need to from within Plantain app. I need to call this other third-party module. Would be another way to do it that gets me that chunk of data.
Yep.
But the issue we're having in Plantain app is related to action form security, not always returning properly.
So I guess what I was saying is, the reason I was asking if there's any particular security around it, I've written like a small Visual Studio app, for example, that will return information. So pick whatever language you like that can do that, and just added it as a ASCX at the root of the website that you can then call it and pass it parameters and get answers back. It's
And that's
pretty,
the type
pretty
of thing
brute
I'm
force.
looking for. I just didn't know what the right approach to doing it, because it's something that's going to be short-lived, and once the plant and app fix is in place, I won't need it. So I don't want to spend a lot of time developing something that I'm going to provide.
Yeah, if anybody else has a better solution, a better suggestion than but I've done that kind of thing just to kind of add, quick and dirty, get an answer and get some VB to run. Okay. Next. I also wanted to take a look at, I don't think we have any new contributions on Campfire, although, I don't think we have any new contributions. So I'll take a look at it real quick, but we'll cover that. And no. So I'll talk about a little bit about predefined fields. I teased that a little bit in Low-Code Cafe. And this really isn't a hard concept at all. I think this group will get it really easily. But the problem is it does require some access to the file system. So here's the setup. This was a default one that was a default star rating. You can talk about any kind of field type, but I just dropped a star rating on the form and displayed it. And it has this, it's gold. It has half steps. And then I'll do it again. I have in this predefined field section, I've defined a standard star rating field, and I'll just give it a different name, but it comes in with an initial value of 3 and 5 stars and a step of 1 and instead of half. They're red and white. I've got words like poor and below expectations and excellent. So if there's a field that you use all the time, set up a particular way rather than configuring it from scratch, you can use a predefined field. That's the goal that we're trying to get. And so just dropping it on, it's all pre-configured. So to demonstrate that it really can work and isn't that hard to do, we can do another one. Let's I'm just going to stick with what I got. Let's say that we're going to do, 10 is the number of stars, and we're going to give an initial value of 9, and we won't use these words at all, and the color is going to be blue, just to demonstrate that this thing can happen. So this is going to become our new standard star rating. This title, by the way, means absolutely nothing. I'm just making sure that we understand what we've got. So we have a misconfigured one. Let's see what I missed here. Let's get it right before we move on. So stars 10, step 1, white. Anybody see what I'm doing wrong here? I'm gonna I don't know why it doesn't like 9 stars, but that's really kind of beyond the point. Any field that you define, you can have it. This is going to be our predefined one. And so the process then is that, and I'm going to make it easy for myself. I'm just going to define that as the only thing that's on this form, the new standard star rating, and use the export functionality. So when you export a form, this is going to give us all of our content. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to put it up in a nice editor here. So I can format it. It's just a JSON. When you export it, it's just JSON. So we have our only, if you had multiple fields, you'd have to figure on the form, you'd have to figure out which one you're talking about. But this is the definition, the full definition of the field, and just ready to import. And so the only thing that we have to do is to remove these brackets around here, because this is the JSON that we're going to need to place on the to store in the file system. And then I'm going to give it a name, standard star blue. That's going to be our predefined field name. Does all make sense so far? Did I lose anybody yet? Okay.
We're keeping up.
Okay, so so we've defined a field through the interface, we've exported it, and so now we just need to put it somewhere. So the somewhere is, I've got my file system here on a separate screen, and I've got a shortcut to it. It's wherever your website is, it's the desktop modules, DNN sharp, action form, config, predefined fields. And so we're going to create a file that's where it goes. Probably the easiest way to create the file is there's always going to be the default one, which has all of the default predefined fields. I'm just going to copy and paste that. So we have a copy of it. I'm going to give it another name. And so the name is going to be whatever we'd like to call it. This is, I'm going to call it R2. It doesn't matter, but it has to be json.config. So we have a file in a right format, and so now we're going to go clean it out. And so I'm going to see if I can, where's edits, open with Notepad. So this has a bunch of content in it. It has the bracket and all of the other predefined fields. We don't want any of those. And instead, we're going to paste our own predefined field. And now I gotta go find it. And paste it back in here and save. So just the fact that the file is present within the predefined fields, Plankton app is going to pick this up as a predefined field. And so that's it. Not a hard concept. We just needed it to be in the file system. So we should just be able to refresh this. Again, this is the one that we did originally, so we haven't used it yet. But when we look at our form now and the predefined fields, we have a standard star blue that we can click. It's all set up for the number of stars and the step that we picked, the whole configuration. So you can do that with any field that you're using. If you have a setup that you like and want to use over and over again, you can just define it in the interface, export it, and put it onto the file system. Did anybody already using this feature? Anybody see that it would be, you might use the feature?
There's
I'm putting my hand up. This is hard. Yeah, it looks good.
So in the file system there where you had your other star rating configured, could we have added to that file also and just built our own?
Absolutely. Let's see, the things that you can have multiples within a file. So long as you don't break break the JSON, absolutely. The other thing is you typically don't want to modify any of our defaults because that's going to get replaced during an upgrade. So your customizations would go away. But yeah, you can have as many as you want. You can have them one per file here, or add multiples. It's your choice. Was there another question or comment in there?
I think that's very cool, and that might be quite handy for me. Thank you.
We when this actually has been a feature that's been around for a while. We just don't, there's a lot of corners of this application that you just have to know where things are, and this was one of them. When Bogdan brought this to my attention, one of the possibilities is that we could add a methodology to add a click and save the stuff into the file system, which wouldn't be that hard. But let's just say it's an idea that hasn't surfaced yet in terms of production. But to be able to define a field and then click a button and say this is a standard, and having it appeared in your predefined fields would be yet simpler and make it even more available. But anyway.
Say, Dale, do you know if these predefined fields could be used in a dynamic form?
I don't. So when you help me set this up in a dynamic. I haven't used this in a while. You say dynamic field container, right? And then
container, and then you'll need an entity that you think about this. It's been a little while for me too, Dale.
Is it an action that adds them to the?
I was gonna say, isn't it just an action?
Yes, it is.
So the question is, does it show up in that action list? No, I don't think you'd be able to filter by it. You'd have to look for the dynamic fields one, and right there, right up
dynamic field,
and then look in there.
Oh, add. Oh yeah, they're listed here, and
See it.
but this low dynamic field from JSON is probably the one you're looking for.
It looks good.
The same content that is on where's my file here? If we post it here,
okay.
So
yeah, that's what I was going for right there.
So I'm going to get rid of our other ones. So all we have is the dynamic field, right? And so we'll refresh this, and I'm not getting anything. Let's try again. Make sure
Hey, I'm thinking if I could maybe drop a token in there that would bring the JSON that I wanted, that would make a dynamic form even more dynamic.
Give it the container ID. It didn't know where to put that file, that field.
Bless you, Ben. And I'm thinking maybe init might not be the event for this either. So we'll try one more. All right, doesn't like.
You have to make it an array, Dale. So put the square brackets.
Okay, thank you, sir. Nope. Closer and closer. And it tried to help me out and add the bracket there, but there it is. One more time. Lovely.
So probably the star rating is not supported by the dynamic field. I think only for the controls that you have actions, those are the ones that are supported. So probably that's why it didn't render.
Right. So the ones that are there, let's just take a look at that again. So the answer to your question is not predefined fields, but the fun part then is that any of the ones that, so any of the standard ones that you might have, you could export the JSON, put it into a token, and pull it dynamically or manipulate it dynamically before you posted the field. So that would give you a ton of control over the ones that we support.
Right, that's where I would take that. So yeah, that looks good. I wasn't aware about that, loading the JSON. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dale.
Well, I wasn't either, but so you know, again, we do it live here, and that's okay. Bogdan, do you want to talk at all about 118, where we are, what we've got going on?
So yes, I'm just preparing the beta notes right now, so it will go out today. We installed it on a couple of our systems to test it, and it's working beautifully so far. So yeah, we'll launch the beta today.
Perfect. Let's see, I had and I had a note from Mihai. I had asked about the beta from Mihai. He mentioned something about that there's likely to be a hotfix on Monday. Is that, are you familiar with that one?
No,
Okay.
but I'll check with him. I mean, there will probably be a couple of hot fixes because we touched quite a lot, but
Yep.
it's nothing breaking so far, nothing major.
Good. So it's good now. It'll be better on Monday. So depending on when you have time to get into it, and I'm looking forward to it too. I've got a lot of cool things in that one. Cool. Anything else?
That's it. Looking forward to see your test results, and we'll get it out on the 20th of December if everything goes well.
We already looked. There's nothing new on the Campfire website. This was a topic, and I'll just kind of, I guess I will introduce this topic just to know that it's coming, and then I think we're going to try and find a time for Radu or one of the implementation team to go over this with us. But there is, we have this list of all the different things that you can do through JavaScript API, and I haven't talked to him about this, but apparently we're doing a lot of renaming. So we're going, you'll see everything on the list. DNNSF is becoming PAA. So there's going to be new calls coming up, and we kind of want to get them all in one place in terms of what all can you do. I think we're doing a good job of revealing them in the product as well. What I don't know is if this is a breaking change at any level. And so Bogdan might have dropped out for a second, but so I feel a little irresponsible for bringing this up without knowing the answer to that question. But do you know, sir?
I don't think it will be breaking changes. I think we'll keep the old APIs as well. But yeah, cleaning it up, structuring it a bit, it will be more consistent.
Good. So the good. So we hope to have a cafe here coming up where we can demonstrate a lot of these, a lot of this functionalities, all the great things that you can do within the JavaScript API. But just kind of this is probably the core group that would use that, and just know that these this cleanup, this change is coming. So this was one of the comments that I got. Jerry asked about having a class on beautifying practices of workflows, and this is the whole comment that I got from Jerry. So Jerry, if you're willing, I would love for you to tell me more about what you have in mind on this one. And we can't hear you if you're talking. I see you came off mute, but I can't hear you. And while we're waiting on that solution, Patrick, I see you came off mute. Did you have anything to add to beautifying?
I actually thought I was clarifying also about the DNSF API, but I wasn't off mute, and then I tried, but then Bogdan jumped in before I could, so
Okay.
I was having some mute challenges.
Yes. So yeah, the general the area that I know Jerry was looking at was in workflows, and you put in a branch that finding the way to if that branch put it some junk here, but if you put in a branch, a split, and then you know, we're doing something else, that we have this double click to set condition that pops up, and trying to get to it and manipulate it was part of the question. But this is where the condition goes to say, does it go this direction, or you know, which branch it takes from a split. And he was having trouble finding and clicking that. But I think it typically is right in the middle of wherever the arrow is, and then it can get dragged around. So that's one area where it can be a little problem trying to, if you've moved it, or if you move the box, and where does the condition gets moved a little bit, trying to find it and double click on it and be able to set it. So you do kind of have to watch where that goes.
Is there a way to tell what split that condition relates to? When you have multiples in the workflows, they can get confusing.
I'm sorry, was that a statement or a question?
The confusing was a statement. The question was, is there a way to right click on that or anything to know which, if you have multiple splits and multiple conditions, which one that is?
So the condition would look something like this. Whatever variable you're testing. So the condition would look like that. And then if you have a nut, let's just found it. Again, I'm just doing dummy code here. As you have multiple you start to get them like this, and so the only way to tell is to take a look at the only way to tell visually is to look at the condition and say, okay, this is one way, this is the other. And if you're testing for multiple things, then you look at each one, and it's, you know, it's connected to the line for that item.
Dale, this is Jerry. I think I may have audio now.
You do.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for this. And you're well on your way to doing exactly what I was anticipating. The biggest challenge I've had with workflows is managing the splits when you have multiple splits. And And as I had illustrated in one of our personal messages, it took me a few minutes to click into that little box and really understand that that's a condition box. And if you're moving things around on the screen and that condition box happens to float away or not be as close to the line as it used to be at once, I was just concerned, is it still connected? And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but that's why just with a lot of practice, I've just about got it figured out now. Again, it's a wonderful thing, but I could just see where if a workflow gets kind of complex, lots of actions, lots of branching, things of that nature, is there a methodology or a system that we use to properly flowchart? And I'm not so much asking for a class on flowcharting. I think we've all been down that road since the 80s. I'm talking about just like with this particular module that we're using, it took me a few tries to get things to be nice. And, you know, for an example, would you put on that final merge, would you put your end circle, please? Would you go ahead and close it out as if it's all over? And then let's say that some condition happened at the very beginning, even before the inject data. Try to put a split right before the inject data. And maybe move things around to make that a little bit more easy to. Perfect. Now, if whatever happens in the split's all good, take it straight into the inject data. And don't really care what the condition is. We're just drawing lines and circles right now. Okay. Now, here comes the biggie, Dale. Let's say whatever happens in that split, the other option is it goes straight to end. I don't want to do anything. I just want to leave. Get me a line from there over to the end point.
Yeah, so it has to merge back in, right?
Well, right. Okay, so or get me back to that merge. You don't even do any inject data. You just, whatever happens in this split, we're bypassing everything. That was my little road to go around, that if a certain condition wasn't met, I really don't even want to perform this. And
so my understanding at this
and you're
point,
doing a great job. You're doing a great job, by the way. I struggled with this because I kept trying to draw a diagonal line from the split to the merge, and it was doing its own thing. But the way you've got that going down into a 90-degree angle,
so now, did you see this jumped when I deleted that, which was kind of fun. And that's the challenge, that you know, these things can move around a little bit.
Yes, that's what I meant by it'll kind of float away from you if you're doing too much manipulation. But with some trial and error, I ended up with a complex workflow that looks very similar to what you're working with. And so that's when it spawned the question, wouldn't it be nice if we had a video or a workshop one day of just how to really utilize all the toolbox inside the workflow editor? Not so much the workflow logic of actions and all that, just drawing boxes and circles and splits and pulling it all together.
Yep. I admit for me, splits were the place where I struggled first. It wasn't so much of this is inherently obvious, right?
Yes.
I guess there were two struggles that I had with workflow to start with. One is that and the other is realizing that you had to have a start and an end, that you know it had to explicitly end. And once I had that, then you could get a ton done with workflows.
Does every split have to end on its own merge, or can two splits route their way to one merge?
I believe they do have to have their own. I don't think it's going to let you. connect there. Let's see what happens if we try and. Yeah.
And that and lies my next failure is I was trying to split and come back at a common merge somewhere and was driving me crazy. And I did ultimately find out that.
Yeah, it's like parentheses. You got to have matching.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, just dumb stuff like this makes you so much better at this product when you can just talk to somebody that's a little further down the road with you. So I thought it might warrant a class or a video someday. That's all.
Well, at the very least, now we have me struggling through it as part of a campfire recording. So that's something we can point to. So good for that. But yeah, it sounds like something that in the workflow section of Low-Code Academy, and we'll take that under advisement to Mr. Radu.
I have a question. Sorry.
No, go right ahead, sir.
In the idea of clarification, these symbols that you're using, are these built into the tool, or are these symbols that you guys have chosen? So like the diamond, the box, things like that.
Pretty sure they're built into the tool. We're using something called BPMN. And
we are
I was just thinking if that icon for the merge could be changed from a diamond to a triangle, I think it would clear things up, because then it would show you only have 2 connection points as opposed to 3 connection points. That makes it look like you could potentially have another line merging in there when you can't.
Precisely. But I don't know that we can actually control this toolbox, but having that knowledge, Ben, is awesome to know that for sure.
Can we make the... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, again, that's up to the powers that be. I just don't know who actually has control of the toolbox. I know we have control of doing our actions and all that stuff, but who actually has control? Does Bogdan and his crew have engineers that can actually manipulate this, or are we just at the mercy of the toolbox?
So the toolbox is quite flexible, so we've seen it customized heavily, and probably will get much deeper into it. And also it has a lot more features. The standard, the BPMN standard, has a lot more features like events, kind of mechanism, parallel task. It has a lot of concepts in the standard that we haven't implemented yet. So yeah, I think it will be a lot of room. There is a lot of room for improvement, and the tool is very, very powerful.
I personally like to see a larger font on those conditions coming out of the split.
And actually there we want to put something that it's maybe tied to the arrow, and also you can extend it. You can open it in a pop-up, maybe a condition builder, something like that.
Yeah, that would be great.
The one thing I have noticed about the condition box, and Dale, if you'll click into it and try it, no matter how far you expand the box, the text will begin to wrap despite the size of the box.
Right.
At least in my circumstance. And if you have a condition like where type is good or type is bad, if you have to do some ands and some ors on the condition, it starts to really get cluttered. And even if you expand the box, Dale, it will not expand that text. It'll stay in that. See that?
Yeah, I want to second that. I've played with that myself and wished I could make it more readable by stretching it out.
I totally concur with what Bogdan, where he was headed was, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a condition builder and you just kind of clicked on an icon and you opened up some other mechanism for editing the condition, and then you closed it back off and you just knew there was a condition on that line, and instead of seeing all the gory detail of the condition, possibly you just click into it and then you can see how complex the condition might be. That would be amazing for me, at least. But
I know
like name the condition.
I will second that as well. Give the condition like a description, but be able to open up the condition in a pop-up where it has the details, just like our other actions, similar to that idea.
So I'm going to say that, you know, we keep talking about putting the feature request section on the community. So remember to write this one down and
Okay.
seed this again. Wish list for workflows. All right. What else?
In the meantime, can I say a save button that doesn't go to the test and or back? Just save and keep, so I can keep typing.
Yeah, that's been brought up before.
It has, and I've gotten to where I just use save and test and then click away. It's a 2 clicks and gets you there. It's not as intuitive, but it would be nice to have just a save button. So.
With that said, I just want to say this about Planta app period versus the legacy DNN Sharp. Workflows are badass, guys. The fact that we can go in and create a function-like environment and turn it into an action, that blew me away. And because my team that work underneath my crew, they're not as savvy as, say, everybody that's on this particular call today. So I can create a workflow and then just tell them, hey, I added a new action for you. Just go load up the action and you'll figure it out. And they don't have to really understand that it's doing all this branching and calling SQL Server and doing all the weird stuff that you and I may do. And I just think workflows is, wow, that's it. And I am very impressed with workflows. Thank you. Thank you again.
Well, and then, you know, to jump on with that, being able to convert them into tokens that you can drop anywhere. Is it just, I mean, it just gets to be mind blowing. And when you see Radu, there was a video a couple of months back where he did that in Cafe and incorporating Razor tokens. And, you know, man, it just starts to get a little bit mind blowing what you can get done at the far end, right? Always on the spectrum. You're talking about your developers that are kind of somewhere in the middle. And then you got, you know, these great capabilities on the far end.
Dale, on a side note, and to everybody, I was making a comment to one of my engineers just yesterday that 10 years ago, or ever how long it's been with Bogdan and DNN Sharp, I thought we've been low code since we started. You know, I gave up Visual Studios and C# to use DNN Sharp products. And that was my idea of low code. And now with where we're going, the fact that I can jump in and do some of this high-end engineering stuff and then just pass it off to my users. And by my users, I mean my guys that work underneath me that will never understand, you know, interfacing and API calls and SQL Server to the level that I do. I can just real quickly throw a workflow out there and hand it off to them. So I think we're really starting to catch traction on the idea of low coding. And so I just think that's amazing. I do want to change topics on you, Dale. We will not talk about this today, but if anyone has any interest at all at doing push notifications, in particular with a company called Firebase, Google's Firebase, the testing that I have done, Dale, with our integration has been nothing short of fantastic. So if people start digging around on that idea, maybe we'll do a campfire around that and I'll host it for you. And we'll talk about what it takes to make all that happen. Again, I think I'm doing really well with it right now. And the module that was handed to me for testing and just see if it works, I don't know where it lives in the world of 1.18 or 1.20 or when, but I would think that would be a module that would need to be integrated into Planta app as soon as possible.
That's funny because Dale was just asking about the next topic for Cafe. We had one, but Radu cannot do it. So if you want to present it next Wednesday, I think it's a good topic. What do you think, Dale?
If Jerry's up for it, I am.
Yeah, I'll express some interest in that. My personal interest is a little bit further in the future, so no rush. But yeah, I'm very interested in the topic.
Very good. Very good. I thought I heard Bogdan say would do that for the cafe on Wednesday. And I'm not exactly sure how to do the presentation, but Dale, I'll be in touch with you early next week and we'll kind of put our plans together. I'll show you what I have and how we can best demonstrate it. But I have it actually functional now in the world with thousands of subscribers sending push notifications, and seems to be okay.
That would be terrific. Yeah, we'll absolutely talk about it. And just to you know, for this group, anybody who does end up wanting to present, we typically, you know, look for something that's 30-40 minutes. And you know, we're using Zoom, so it's just, you know, share my screen and have a little bit of organization around it. We'll put a few slides together and talk with you. We won't leave you out there on the wire all by yourself. So absolutely, let's link up. But if double check your schedule, make sure you can do this for Wednesday. We'll promote the heck out of it.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
All right, thank you guys. We've made it to our hour. It's been a really good one, and I had a couple of topics in my back pocket didn't even get to, so we'll cover those next week. Thank you all.
All right, guys, thank you.
Thanks,
See you all
everyone.
later. Have a good week.